Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, wherever and whenever you are listening. This is We Are The One, Lincolnshire FA's official Grassroots Football podcast, where we speak to the amazing people who make football happen in our communities. This week we're speaking to a 2024 Grassroots Football Award winner. We're speaking to Gemma Bell, the Junior Director at Lincoln United Football Club. We speak to her about all of her amazing roles and all the things that she is doing to keep football positive in the community of Lincoln. Enjoy. So I am here with a Grassroots Football Award winner for this year. I'm here with Gemma Bell from Lincoln United. Gemma, just can you tell us a little bit sort of about yourself and how you first got involved within grassroots football?
Yeah, so I suppose if we go right back to the beginning, I was a mum on the sideline, and I look back at videos now of me cheering on my eldest son, who's under 18s this year, and think, oh Lord, was I really like that? But started just helping out with fundraising, bit of paperwork, making sure equipment got where it needed to be, and then it sort of moved on from there. So I ended up taking on the team at under 8s, back end of under 8s, and here I am today. So it's been a long journey.
And how long ago was that it all started?
So we're going back 10 years now. Hayden, like I say, is under 18s, and we started at under 6. So it's been just over 10 years of a football journey, but a pleasurable one.
And an interesting one, I assume, as well.
Yeah, massively. So things have spiralled and changed throughout the years, but really pleased to be involved still.
Fantastic. So what motivates you, I suppose, to start volunteering, and what keeps you coming back, year after year?
So I'm an only child, and my dad's a massive football fan, and I really enjoyed spending time, whether that was going to Stamford Bridge to watch Chelsea or down the pub. I really, really enjoyed being part of the football world from that perspective. So then when Hayden wanted to start playing, it seemed to fit for me because I'm a single parent, wanted him to do something that got him involved with a male figure, if you like, to sort of look up to, and football seemed the right option. So he started playing, and for me, when the team, we were really, really fortunate. We had a fantastic team, but one of the girls in the team got picked up, and her dad was running the team. I wasn't there that night when they announced that that's it, Ash was stepping down. But took a phone call from Ash later on, who sort of said, you know your stuff. I've said that you'll help whoever's going to take over. 2 dads rang me and sort of said, we want to do it, but we won't do it without you because you're the brains, if you like. So I said, of course, absolutely. Turned up to the first game. The manager didn't turn up. He was running late, so I had to crack on. I sat in a meeting with the club that I was at the time, who went, well, one of you's got to go on your level 1. I was like, right, it's going to be me, isn't it? So I went on my level 1, and then very quickly went on my level 2. And then the next thing, I'm doing my UEFA B. So it's been a journey.
Amazing. And do you think, obviously we'll talk about the impact that sort of football has on you, but in terms of the impact that football's had on your son as well, especially as you sort of touched on being, single parent and him looking for that sort of male sort of figure to look to, do you think football has had an impact on your family overall as well as just yourself?
Yeah, I mean, there's what I suppose some people might perceive as a negative impact in terms of I'm out Saturday and Sunday because I coach both days. Those Sundays I've got 2 teams, and my boys are both in one of those teams. So and there's a lot of pressure on me in the role that I'm in now because lots of people want me all the time. But actually, I think that's where my passion for football came alive. Was my eldest son's diagnosed with autism, and particularly what was Asperger's. So it's the social side, and I think he's coped very, very well because of the skills that football brought to life for him. And I think for me, that's maybe where my passion for disability football comes from. My passion to help children navigate the world through sport. Obviously, I went on eventually and did my degree. I was very lucky, Chris Bunnell sort of said, I know somewhere you can go and get educated, and off I went and did my degree. So it's really shaped all of our lives because, he's under 18s and still involved. And for me, that's a huge achievement. We know what the dropout rates are. So to stay involved for that long, especially when your mum's your coach, that's a massive achievement.
And do you think for any child who sort of has, sort of neurodiverse needs, things like autism, ADHD, Asperger's, do you think football is, I suppose, I think the right term I'm trying to find is maybe, a really positive driver to help them sort of grow and develop as people?
Yeah, I mean, I work with 16 to 18-year-olds predominantly in my day job, and it's not just the neurodiverse that benefit. There's so many benefits from being part of sport. Every skill you need, other than the technical skills, are skills that are employability, life skills. There's so much that you can learn from sport. It's unreal. And I think that positive impact that it has, you can't put a price on that.
No, 100%. And you mentioned about your dad's being, a really strong influence, taking you to Stamford Bridge, which is, difficult for you, I suppose, having to go to Stamford Bridge, but someone's got to go. And do you think the impact that your dad had on you sort of has had a bigger influence now on why you do so much within football and why you have such a big role within the game?
Yeah, I think, I growing up, me and my dad connected really well over football, and, still now we'll have long, in-depth conversations about football. But that's a real positive thing from my childhood, is spending time with my dad, watching football, cheering on whoever it might be that we're watching at the time, whether it's Chelsea or whether it's England, or, and I really, really enjoy that side, that social side. But I think beyond that, football had a massive impact in me generally. I wanted to do sport. I was really sporty growing up. I took an injury quite early on, and really struggled to get back into sport competitively. And so for me, I want to make sure that as many people as possible don't go through what I went through.
And do you think that things would be different had you not taken that injury, as you say, sort of relatively early on?
Yeah, I mean, I was a strong swimmer, great at netball, I was good at football, loved basketball, I was really sporty, and I was a runner. My auntie's a runner. So I was really sporty up until 13 when I sort of took this injury, which I now know is Osgood's. But I think things probably would have been later in life, but I think I probably would have always ended up coaching, to be honest.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've obviously had, or will have had, lots of sort of memorable sort of moments and experiences in your time volunteering. What moments or sort of experiences stand out to you?
For me, it's the moments when somebody achieves something they don't think they can, or when they've learned something on the pitch and they do it and take it away with them. I've had people within my teams that have been struggling emotionally, had something happen in their life and are using football to navigate that. And when somebody, maybe a parent or them themselves, come and say, football's helping with that, that's important to me. I think for me, the other side of it is when I travel around the county and I might see a player that's, recognises me from other games and they want to come and talk, or from the early days when we were first setting off with football in Lincolnshire, and, I was heavily involved with the Wildcat festivals and things, and there's still girls now that aren't playing at my age group, because I still coach in the girls' game, that will come and want to have a chat with me if they see me around at Lincoln United, which I think is brilliant. They seem to remember that I eat crisps for breakfast. I think everybody, it's a bit of a running joke with anybody that comes across me in football, is that I will have a packet of crisps in my hand at 10 o'clock in the morning, because I've not had breakfast. I'm running out the door. But I think those are the important bits. And I'd really love to say that it's a win or it's a goal, but it's the off the pitch stuff that matters the most to me.
And is that what I suppose you find then most rewarding about volunteering within grassroots football? Because ultimately it is, having one role within sort of grassroots football is like having a full-time job without the money, isn't it? And you have, 7, 8?
Yeah, I've lost track of how many roles I've got or I've had over the last 10 years. I think it's important for me to, in every job I've ever had, I've been involved with people, and very people-focused jobs. So if I go way back, I was a barmaid. That was all about listening to people's problems. or sharing their, happy times with them. I moved into care, where it's all about, I was massive. I really, really focused in on person-centred care. I went off and did my mental health training, and, I wanted to help make people's lives better. And then I found football. Football took over. I ditched my career. I was a care home manager. I ditched that because it was getting in the way of football. I went to work for Gainsborough Trinity Foundation, teaching PE, and then went off to do my degree at Lincoln College. And there's a theme through all of those jobs where it's about people. And I think sometimes in grassroots football that gets lost a little bit because we can tend to focus on the results. And I've always said, and my under 18s will tell you, that the lads that have been with me for the longest will tell you, I've constantly said, I don't want a winning under 11 side. I don't want a winning under 12 side. I'm not interested in those cups. I want players that last forever. We can go and compete at under 18. Friendships that will last forever, and to make you better people.
Yeah, amazing. So, I suppose on the follow up to that then. So, what challenges do you face as a volunteer, and sort of how have you managed to overcome them? Because every volunteer will have different challenges, but not every volunteer does the amount that you do.
Yeah, so I think sometimes there's a bit of an underlying theme, and it's mostly parent expectations. I think it can be hard when you're looking around and, people measure football on the adult game where it's results based, and they're maybe not seeing what I'm seeing in terms of player development, and whether that is skill based or whether it's them as a person. That can be quite challenging, helping people understand that it's not a race. Youth level, it's not, and it's about a longer journey and how long they're going to play with their friends. I've seen so many people leave teams, whether it's my own, the club, outside the club. So many people leave teams looking for results, and they tend to miss their friendships, and that takes them out of the game. And that for me is upsetting. I want to see people do well, of course I do. But at the same time, those key friendships are the big part of why children do sport.
Yeah. Football and respective football, I guess, is supposed to be the driver for those bonds and creating those friendships and those relationships, isn't it? It's a power for bigger things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Lincoln United, of course, we want to see successes. We're a semi-professional club. We want to create good footballers, and we want to win, but we're not win at all costs. And I think those are two very different things. And I think helping people understand that is massively important.
Do you think that's maybe a wider problem that grassroots football as a whole potentially has, is that win at all costs sort of attitude, and where that maybe fits in? Because there is, there's potentially a place for that sort of winning mentality, but there's also, there's more important things than winning as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, over lockdown, I spent a lot of time attached to my computer doing podcasts, webinars, engaging with coaches from all over the world. And I'm very fortunate to be part of a Twitter community that have a WhatsApp group, and there's been hundreds of us in there. But there's a core of about 150 of us in there that have stayed and talk all the time. And I'm talking America, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, and here in the UK. And we're all facing the same problems. There's still those behaviours around winning and losing that you don't want to see in the game.
And what problems do you find out of that group that potentially, coaches in other nations have, that we maybe don't have, and things that problems we have that they don't have?
So, there's a lovely coach from Spain who was talking to me about, he came to me for some advice, because obviously in my welfare role I do a fair bit. I've just handed that over, but he was talking to me about how he can safeguard his children, because over there they've got a bit of a problem with physical violence. And I know we do see it here in the UK, but touch wood, unfortunately, it's nowhere near the level that's sometimes seen in Spain. So, there are some common themes, it's just varying levels. And then, of course, in America, it's the cost.
Yeah.
Because America is all the coaches are paid, they're paying lots of money to be at these clubs. and then there's this demand. And whilst the payment thing's slightly different here, because grassroots football's quite manageable, and over there you're talking thousands. Actually, it's the same thing. So they're paid and getting pressured because of how much they're getting paid, and we still get the same thing here in the UK. You know, I pay to be at this club. This is the service I'm expecting. Is it realistic sometimes on a volunteer force? Maybe not.
And I suppose, is there potentially a common thread among all the coaches as well in terms of managing the match day environment, and in terms of, I know I'm going to ironically use this term, but keeping football positive, which is obviously the award that the Grassroots Football Award you've just won, but keeping football positive for the kids and for those who they're coaching. And sometimes I suppose part of that is having to deal with touchline conduct from spectators and things like that. Is that a common thread?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what it is about football, and we're not the only sport that experience it. I know that by a long shot, but I don't know what it is about football that makes some people feel like they can berate 14-year-old referees, or have a pop at a linesman, or a coach. Now I'm going to point out the obvious. I'm female, and I have experienced some discrimination, and I've stood on sidelines where people have made comments about my gender and tried to use that against me, and they feel like it's okay because it's a football environment. Well, it's not okay. I think, all the new changes coming in from the FA around the match day experience are really positive. I love everything that's coming in, and I fully support it. Last year, I really, really pushed, and the year before, the silent weekend. And lots of players, and the feedback I get is really positive from players. It tends to be the parents that see it negatively, and I tend to say, well, then maybe you need to reflect on your own behaviours and as to why you find this a negative experience. Yeah,
100%. And I think that's replicated from our perspective as well, in terms of the kids seem to love silent support weekends, the parents not so much. I think that's maybe also a common thread potentially nationwide as well. In terms of, success stories of players and sort of teams that have particularly inspired you during your time volunteering. I mean, we've recently been speaking about, a player who was at Lincoln United last season who has now been on trial at Rotherham, but there's obviously products from the junior section who are now playing for the men's first team, for the women's first team. Are there sort of memorable ones that stick out to you?
Yeah, do you know what? Right, I'm going to talk about two. So for me, I was at our adult awards night. Now, I came into the club when we were Highcombe Town, and I sat and had a meeting with the director of football at the time, who wanted me to come in and do Wildcats, and it was brilliant, just right up my street. We were the first Wildcat centre in Lincoln, and I was really keen to get going, and I rocked up to the club, and his team had two girls in, and Isabella Bogg and Ellie, who plays for Newark Town, both were like, yeah, Jem, we're going to come down, we're going to help. So they were there at my first Wildcat session. They came multiple times after, and I've watched Bella for what feels like forever. To then see her re-sign as an adult under Chris at the time, and be part of that again, that for me is important, because people like Bella are what I want girls to see. Not, you don't need to conform to anything. Be what you are, and Bella just gives that vibe. So I watched her give her speech. Now she's young, she's 17. To have that level of confidence to give a speech in a room full of people who are all football people and carry herself the way she did, that comes from football. I mean, she's a confident person, but that comes from football. And so, yeah, that makes me really proud. And then I think you look at Harvey Graves, who, for me, solidifies everything I want all of our juniors to be. So I talk to the juniors about ABCs: attitude, behaviour, commitment. Now, Harvey is a fantastic player. I love watching him play. But for me, what's really important is he's been with the club since he was under 10s. And he stayed all the way. Now, many players would have gone, I'm in the development squad, I'm walking away, I want to be first team. But he has spent his time with the development squad, and when the time was right, stepped up to the adults, and he believed in us. So it was the right time for him. This year is going to be his year. It's going to be massive. He's brilliant. But that's what I want people to understand, is football's a long-term journey. And as a club, we invest in our players. And that might look like you get to debut at 16, much like, you know, Tyler Griffin as a goalkeeper signed at 16 for the first team. You've got Leo Priestley, you know, Toby was young, Ted Gibbons, young, Josh Parker, you know, there's loads and loads of names there, but their journeys all look very different, and we invest in them at the right time. And I think what's really great is having Steve about. So Steve has taken on our men's development squad, really gets it. He talks to me all the time. I've had junior players from what were my under 16s and now under 18s, but they're 16 years old, step up and play minutes to the devs. But it's the right time. And that's key for me. And I think anybody that will promise you something beyond that and say they've got a quick way in for you isn't thinking about you as a person. And I think that's something we do really well at the club.
Fantastic. I suppose it's those one of our own sort of stories is the sort of thing that really stands out, isn't it? It's those players, like Harvey's a prime example, I suppose, like you said, they come from under 10s all the way up and is now sort of, you know, playing in the men's first team. I
mean, you look at the Lincoln City game. So we played Lincoln City under 23s. One of their players come straight over to me and wanted to have a good conversation after the game. He was really excited to see me because I was going to get to see him play in the Lincoln City kit. Why? Because he was playing Lincoln United last year. He was on our under 18s team, and I've been watching him for the whole time he's been there, saying, you're going to be big, I'd love to see you in a Lincoln United shirt. And there he is playing on our pitch against our first team and proving himself, and he was fantastic. So it's really nice to get those connections.
Amazing. In terms of, and this question I suppose will make you chuckle a little bit, how do you balance your volunteer work with other commitments in your life? If you ask my children, I don't. If you ask anybody, I don't. So look, football's my life and I get it, and people look at me and think I'm absolutely crazy. And there are days when it's really hard. Like, I've had to phone my vice chair and go, I'm on holiday and they're ringing me non-stop. Somebody's got to go in there and tell him to shut up because I'm on a beach, leave me alone. But at the end of the day, if something happens at the club and I'm not involved, I'm really cross, so I can't win. Football's my life, and I've married the sport. I know that, so I'm married to a Lincoln United shirt. Amazing. We've obviously touched on a few times that you recently won a Grassroots Football Award this year. You are this year's Lincolnshire FA Keeping Football Positive Award winner. Now that the dust has settled on that, you know, you've been announced. You've obviously known for a little bit of time before that. How do you feel? It's a bit surreal, really. And I'm good friends with a few of the winners. Obviously, I like to mix with good people. And, you know, the club have been like, you need to be singing about this. And I'm just not like that. I'm just not. I do what I do in football because I love helping people. And, you know, I'm the first to go, oh, your session needs covering, I'm coming. I just can't help myself. For me, the title of the award is really, really important. I think that would have, if I could have gone, I want to pick one that I'm going to win, that would be the one. And as much as, you know, I appreciate, I started Wildcats with Chris Funnell back in the day, and I took that all the way through, and, you know, I coach in the girls' game. I think for me, keeping football positive whilst being a semi-professional club is super important, because as much as I want to create winning players for adult football, I want that experience to be super positive. And the fact that I can rock up to other clubs, like if I go over to Louth, and I know Louth Town will back me up, the girls all want to come and have a chat with me because we've known each other for years. You know, I go over to Gainsborough Trinity, and the girls on the Gainsborough Trinity team, I taught them PE. So we'll have a good chat, and I think that's super important. I think there's enough negative people around in life in general, never mind in football. Someone needs to be making sure that we're a little bit grounded and remember why we're there. And I think one thing that sort of stood out to me while you were sort of saying that is that you've won this award. It's your name on the award, but you're still referring to it as we as a club have won this. And the impression I get is it's very much, it's not about you. It's all about the bigger picture. It's about the club. It's about the impact that you have within the community. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are a community club. We do want to do what's right for as many people as possible within the realms of training space and pitches, because me and Brian have enough of a headache as it is. And but being able to do stuff like bring disability football in, make sure we've got a Just Play centre, make sure that we're the first to have an LGBTQ plus team, and make sure that they feel included in every aspect of the club is important. That's why I started Junior Voice. I was really keen to make sure when I took over as junior director that we remember we're here for the players, and the juniors are a huge part of our club. And how do we get that right? How do I get that across to parents? How do I get that across to coaches? Well, it needs to come from the juniors. They know what they want. It's not about me, and I'll talk to them in their meetings, and I'll be like, but it's you. I need to know what you want, because you are the people using the service. And I think it's just so important that we hear their voice. Of course, then I got a phone call from the FA saying, we were just about to roll this out, so let's jump on. And it's maybe changed in terms of how it looks because of their commitments, and I understand that they're young, so we just actually announced that we've got a junior treasurer who's going to work alongside our main treasurer for the club, but we're building it that way. We want people to have their say, and the juniors are at the front of that.
And one big part of your of the submission, or multiple submissions that actually were sent in for your award, was around the commitment to making football for all, and you've sort of touched on there with the newly announced disability team, with the LGBTQ plus team, and there's obviously multiple things that are in the background that are obviously happening and probably close to being announced as well. Do you think that is one really, really important part of of your role at the club, and in terms of what you want to see football be in Lincolnshire, is keep making it football for all and making sure that everyone has equal access to the game?
Yeah, I think if I go back to right before I joined Highcombe Town, I was ready to leave football. I thought that I was done with it, and I had a conversation with Lee Griffin, Chris Funnell, Andy Lowley, and we had a good chat. And for me, they really solidified what football should be about, and they have this huge vision of community football and lots of different strands. So their passions rubbed off on me. I think I am this passionate because of those people. And moving forward and being able to take disability feels like a win for that long-term vision from sitting around that table, 8-9 years ago now, to bring it to life. Just feels like all our hard work, because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours there from those people, it makes it feel like that hard work is worth it.
Yeah, 100%. To finish up on then, what advice would you give to someone who is considering to be a volunteer in grassroots football, regardless of what that role is? I mean, we know that obviously you're welfare officer, junior director, you coach multiple teams across both the girls and mixed and male pathway. But what advice would you give someone who wants to start out and wants to make a positive impact, regardless of that role?
Yeah, look, when somebody said to me, will you help out? I was thinking pen, paper, inputting scores, fantastic. Because everybody's got a skill that they can bring into football. If you would have asked me then at that point, would I be running 4 teams in a season, junior director, media officer last season, welfare officer, discipline officer, secretary to 4 different leagues. I'm now on a league committee. Would I have said that I'd be doing all those things? Absolutely not. But I'm really fortunate that I have gone down that route. There is so many jobs out there for everybody. We need help in all sorts, and it might be, that you're an excellent fundraiser or whatever your skill set might be. I would never have said I'm going to go from offering to input scores to coaching our men's development squad. It just, that the idea that that's happened has blown my mind. And so it's a journey, and whatever you've got to offer, whether it's an hour a week, whether it's 2 hours a week, whether you're stupid enough to be like me and do 85 hours a week, whatever it is, grassroots football needs people like you. And so, there's plenty of positive people out there that you can reach out to for support. I talk to people from 1,000 clubs, and they're all really happy to come and ask me questions. And there's plenty of people out there that I know I can go to and ask questions that have been doing it longer than me. So the best people in football will always offer you advice. So if you want to get involved, then you'll find us on Twitter. If you go on #SundayShare, you'll find loads and loads of really fantastic coaches that no question is too silly.
Gemma, it has been an absolute pleasure to sit down and speak with you and talk about the multiple roles that you've got in football, the 10 years that you've had, and the amazing impact that you have had on so many people's lives. So thank you so much for coming in and speaking to us.
No problem.